So okay, we'll get started. So we seen stash commands yesterday, right? How we can stage the changes and we can continue the work, right? And we started creating the branches. Okay. So we also talk about branching strategies because this is where you play a good role with the dev teams. You suggest the branching strategies depends on number of factors. Okay, we will talk about those factors so that you will be comfortable in suggesting a strategy. Okay, and before that we need to work on a couple of other things, that is merge actually, because when you are working with the different branches, ultimately as a DevOps engineer you will be merging the changes. Okay, of course you don't care what change is there because you are not responsible, but you merge the changes. Mostly it will be between your dev branch and master branch, or master branch and release branch. We will be talking about these different names actually, and these are standard, pretty much standard. Everybody use the same naming convention. Okay, so this, since you do a merge concepts there, we also see them as part of your code as well, because even developers, they do merge the code with low level branches. Means uh, when we are working with the branches, right? So let us say there is a simple branch itself. There are not many branches. You have only one dev branch. Many guys connected to the dev branch and started working on it, right? And I pushed my code, and some developer one pushed their code, and developer two is working on his PC, and he doesn't have the latest on his PC. When he push his code, there might be some conflicts on the server because he doesn't have the latest version. So that's where you need to solve the merge conflicts and push your code actually. That those scenarios we will see, and then we will get into the creating another branch, and we'll talk about some branching strategies, and then we will try to implement them. Okay, so first let's do a let's create. I mean, so how I'm going to do this is I'm going to use my Visual Studio as a developer one. Okay, so I'll open my existing solution. We were using this web application 6, right? So I connected to uh, this one using Sureka ID, and since I cannot open another Visual Studio with a different ID, I'll use the portal. I will do some simple changes there with another user ID. Yesterday, we tried to give a contributor permission to the Purna Chandra, but we were not able to see the repos, right? Yes. Right. The problem there was, I was thinking I added that person at the database, I mean, at the project level, because I am adding all you guys at the project level. Actually, that was my user ID, right? I added this guy at the organization level, and at the organization, I gave him a different role actually. So it is like this: the parent permissions, we will override the child permissions. So in your parent child hierarchy, right, your organization is the topmost, and then you have your DevOps projects. I mean, project is the child, right? Whatever I have there in the organization is overriding the child permission. So I realized it later, and I will show you basically now. Let's because we also need that user, right? Let's sort out that issue. Let me log out from here. I'll go to my portal, DevOps portal, dev.azure.com. So this is my administrator account, right? If I go to my organization, Azure DevOps 8 a.m. session, and organization settings, and then go to users. So right now I have two users here, and this is admin, and you see this access level, right? This is a basic. Okay, that means this guy will have everything. Okay, don't think that basic is basic. Here it has a different meaning actually, because here he have three different types of access levels: one basic, another stakeholder, another is a Visual Studio subscriber. We will talk about it later. So the stakeholder is basically, just like any other stakeholder. Stakeholders, I mean, other than your dev teams, etc., you have other stakeholders like project managers or your product owners or your business owners. All these guys are stakeholders. They don't need to make changes to your code. So for these roles, Microsoft defined some permissions. Those permissions will automatically apply to this role actually. So actually we have, I mean, we talked about it some time ago. Uh, we talked about it. Yeah, this is the one we talked about it actually. Stakeholder, what he can do. So we forward it actually. So because of this stakeholder level, though I am giving contributor access at my project level, and I given access to modify my repos as well, still I was not able to do it actually. So first we will do verification now. Let me go and switch back to my the ID purnachandra.k, and you can verify his permissions. So now he will not, I mean, I did not make any change actually. So I just want to change it in front of you so that you can go ahead and apply your permissions later. So I have only access to one application, though I have many there. So still I don't have the repos here. And if you go and, I mean, he can see the settings, but it's mostly be read only. He cannot do any modification. So if you go to repositories, this is in read only mode. Okay, he don't have authority to view because I given only some read only permissions. And then you go to permissions, you can check actually he cannot do anything. He is a part of, I can see here as a part, he is a contributor. PK is my other one actually. Okay, you can see right from here. And he's also part of, I mean, every person who is part of your project is a valid user. Means at least he can log into the project, but he cannot do anything until unless you give any of these permissions. Okay. So I'm a member of this one. That means I should be able to make changes to my repo, but still I'm not able to because I'm having stakeholder role assigned to me at organization level, which is overriding these things. Okay. So what I do, since I cannot make any changes with this user, I switch back to my admin. So I switch back to my admin. Let's log in. I just keep it open because there is always lag actually between online and here. Otherwise, I don't know. So let's sign in. So the changing permission is very easy. Right from the settings itself, you can change it. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, let's select my web applications 6. Yeah. Now go to project settings, not the project settings. Go to organization because I need to make changes at the organization level, not here. Now I am in Azure DevOps 8 AM session. Now go to organization settings, click on this, and now go to users. So you can change the permission right from here. Select the user, and there is a more button here. Just click on this, and then click on change access level. So right now his access level is a stakeholder, and then just change it to basic. Okay, let me save it now. That's it. Now he's been changed to basic level. Now let's go and let's switch back to this guy. Probably I use different browsers, Edge and this one, so that it can be easier. Now you see the repos. So that stakeholder, I mean, organization settings are overriding the project settings actually. Okay. So now we can look into some other permission settings. You know how we create a new group and give only some set of settings rather than built-in settings, built-in permissions as part of built-in groups actually. But we'll do it later. Let's look into some changes. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do from Visual Studio, I'm going to make some simple change. Okay. Uh, so this is for a demonstration purpose, right? I will not be doing any drastic changes, very simple changes. So I'm going to delete these existing comments, okay, and then making another change to my one of the methods. Let us say uh, merge example, okay. So this is a change I made using this developer from his local laptop. So at the same time, I'm not now updating this, I mean, pushing this code back to the server. What I'm going to do, now I logged in with this user ID, right? With this developer, I would say. So this is a developer. I can, as I told you, I can make changes right from the portal as well. Since I'm making small changes, I can use it. I don't need an IntelliSense for that one. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to open this web application 6, and then for the first scenario, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to make a change to contract method actually. So let's open home controller.cs. So to make change, right, first we need to edit it. Click on edit, and then I'll go and add some change. Say merge example. So don't worry about naming contact. Something I made some code change and then commit it. Click on commit. So something is been committed now. Now if I go and push my code from Visual Studio, it will not make any problems. It will not make any conflicts. Conflicts always occur if both the people are making change to the same code line. So let us say I have this number of lines here, right? So line number 15, he made some change, some other developer. And to the same line number 15, some other developer make change and try to push. That's where the conflict comes. Means you are trying to make change to the same line of code actually. So that's where the conflict occurs. As long as you are working on different lines of code, no issues. It can merge. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, let's go to Visual Studio, and I will commit this change actually. Let's go and commit. Source control, commit, and then just give test. So and I connected to master branch, you see. Okay, because when you're working with the multiple branches, right, you may open something and you may forget actually. So you always better to look at the branch where you are pushing to. Okay, what it is saying, because you encountered pushing to repository because the remote contains work that you do not have it locally. Okay, that's okay. What it is saying, you may want to first integrate the remote changes before pushing again. That's okay. He is saying I don't have the local. So what I can do, I can simply say sync actually. So now it pulled the changes to my local. Now I have the latest, and then it pushed my local changes to the back to the server. So this is a good because I mean earlier days we have to do it manually. So now it is suggesting us. So it is basically not allowing us to do mistakes basically. So now if I go to my portal, let's refresh it. So now the changes have been pushed here. So from index method, the comments been removed. In the about method, I added merge example. Okay, and this is the modification done by this Purnachandra. Okay, you can see the history as well. Okay. So there is a merge operation happened right now because I taken the latest, etc., etc. Okay. Now what I'm going to do? Now we'll make a conflict actually. So how I make a conflict? First, go to content. Let's edit it. What I'm going to do? This line number 28 is there, right? I'm just going to add one more change here. Let us say Purna. So line number 28 in home controller.cs. Let's say commit. Done. So now my code is on the server, not, I mean, of course, I'm doing it from the server, but in his repository. Now it is on the remote repository. So now what I'm going to do in my local, so I'm not doing any sync. If I do sync, right, I will get everything. Okay. Without doing sync to the same line, right, there it was Purna, right? I added, I will make change called Chandra. That's it. So now I should get a merge conflict because both the people, I mean, one guy already committed code with some change on line number 28, and I didn't take the latest version and I made change to the same code line. Okay. Now go and try to commit this code. Okay. Just say merge test and then say commit all and push. Okay. Now I got the same message, right? It is saying take the remote changes first and then push it. Now if I do sync, right, I'll get an issue. Let's close this window. Click on sync. Now you see, right, the topmost here, pull completed with conflicts in the web application 6 repository, resolve the conflicts and commit the results. It is saying there is a conflict, first resolve it. Okay. And how you resolve? You can directly click on the resolve the conflicts. Okay. Or you can open this conflict. So merge is still in progress. Okay. So, and you can see the changes as well. Under incoming request, this guy made change, right? Under firm controller, it is showing both actually. And this is outgoing, which you made actually. Now you need to decide. You need to merge actually code. How do you merge? Basically, the developer made some change and this developer also made some change. You don't know who is right or wrong. So you guys both actually have to speak with each other and merge it. So you have the tool, but you need to talk because nobody knows who is correct or who is not correct. Okay. Now what I do, go and click on resolve the conflicts. Okay, select it. And then you have an option called merge, right? So once you select it, click on merge. Now it will open 3 panes. Let's hide it. Okay. So this is how it looks. The developer 1 changes left and developer 2 changes right. I mean remote and local. And the bottom is what your decision. So how you merge it? So okay, you have an option here called accept merge as well. We will see it first. Now the developer and Purna and Surekha talked with each other and they decided that, I mean, by talking to the team lead or whatever it is, the changes from the local user, I mean Surekha is right actually. Then I would say, okay, I will override the remote repository with the Surekha changes. What I do, I simply select the checkbox. That as soon as you select this checkbox, right, on the right hand side, you see the bottom one is also changed. This is basically a preview. What is going to be happen? It shows the preview. Now once you select it, it will show the preview. Now you are good. You see the preview as well. Go and click on accept merge. Now you done the accept merge. Now let's go to Team Explorer. Now this is been changed to commit merge actually. By mistake, if you done it, if you close this one, don't worry. Again, you go to the changes, you click on changes, it will show you. Okay. Click on commit merge and now give the some description, and then okay, if you want to read it, you can see this is in commit your changes to complete the merge operation. That's what it is saying. Okay, let's go and commit all and push. See, now two changes are going from your local to because you merged it locally and you are pushing it back to the server. Now let's go back to the portal and see. So now it should be changed to Chandra. Let's refresh it. You see the change is already here. So if you have multiple conflicts, right, you will get that option. Okay, let's do one more conflict stuff, two conflicts, and then we will see that one as well. This the same process, you will click next actually. So I'm going to make one more change here. Let's edit with this user. I'll say Purna Chandra dot k is my first change, and I make another change, line 29. I'm making another string here, Chandra.k. These are the changes I made here. Okay, just commit it. Okay, now we are good. You committed the code using that user. Now switch back to your Visual Studio, and then here, let's not take the latest version. Okay, and to the same line number 28, I'm going to add Purna, different string, I mean other than what I given there. Okay, and line number 29, I'm going to add something like uh, January. I mean, you think of it as some of your code changes, January 3rd. Now let's go ahead and save it and then commit. So obviously we'll get now issue, commit, give some description, and then try to commit all and push. So you got there, right? You may want to pull the latest and then push it. The same error what you get at. So this is a generic exception. You get the same thing irrespective of what merge conflicts are there. Let's close it. And then how you do the merge? Go to Team Explorer and then click on sync. So since there are merge conflicts, it will ask us to resolve the conflicts. Click on the resolve the conflicts. So earlier we done one, right? It is now multiple. So the same thing you do it for the multiple operations. Okay. Now you need to select home controller.cs, click on merge. So it will list out all those things. On the left hand side, you see the person on the remote. You see the remote. You can see like this as well, remote in that source, and then target you have the local. Okay. Now how you go? I mean, if you have multiple things, right? I should have done it in a different files actually, so that I can do. So you basically navigate like this. You see the next conflict, right? You can click on this one, it will go. I mean, let us say you have 1,000 files, 1,000 conflicts. You can't simply do like this, right? You can't simply scroll down. It's difficult. So better thing is you leave it to the tool actually. You can simply do next, and select whatever you want. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to select again my local only. Okay, and then if you click on next, there are no next conflicts. I mean, because I made it in the same place. Okay, so it's been changed actually. Now let's go and accept much. I should have done it in a different methods or different files. But this is how you do. You use the next and you do the same thing. Select remote or select local and then say accept must. That's all we need to do. Okay.
If we want to add both.
You want to?
If we want to add both.
You want to add?
Both.
Both. No, this is not possible, right? See, you are working on some this is a conflict, right? Conflict means forget about the code. Conflict means either one of you is right. Here also you cannot do both. But why you want to add both actually?
Because both of the developers generated the different codes. So that is also needed.
So let us say I have some connect to database code actually. Basically give user ID and password. Okay. User ID and password will not change, right? Whether you are using it or I am using it, it doesn't matter, right? The user ID will be changed. Let us say I made my user ID Purna and you made your user ID Purna 1. It will fail, right? So if you want to try that kind of options, try it. But in principle, that should not work because conflict is a conflict. You have to approach. I understand you want to try it actually. So we will try it. I mean, I want to talk about the changes, branches, and then we'll try that because anyways, we will use this merge operation while you are working with multiple branches because right now I am using merge operation between developers, but you need to use the merge operation when you are working with multiple branches. Let us say I create a dev branch and then I create I have the master branch, right? I need to merge these things. At that time, you will get more scenarios than this one. We'll look into that one. Okay. Okay. So this is a merge operation that you must do. You must know because you are handling the multiple branches. You don't, of course you don't do these kind of things. But when you are merge, because whenever you get a request to create a CI/CD pipeline, first your development team will ask you, okay, my dev branch is ready, go and do the release. Okay. Now what you do, you have to create a build pipeline, build and I mean your build pipeline and release pipeline. So in general terminology, you call it as a CI/CD pipeline. Okay. Now what happens? You will be working on the multiple branches. Now before getting into the different branching strategies, let's understand what fundamentals you need to know. Okay. So we already covered about one branch per environment. Let us say you have dev environment, QA environment, production environment in your physical, I mean, on cloud or on your data center. As I told you, you should not create like that. Okay, past is past, but you should not create one branch per environment. That is a wrong one because you are having the same copy of code in multiple branches, okay, without any changes. If you have to create a build pipeline, then you have to create one build pipeline for each environment. For QA, one build pipeline. For production, one build pipeline. For dev, one build pipeline. You should not create that because the funda of DevOps is build once, deploy any number of times. Because irrespective of the environment, your code will not change. Only your configuration will change. That configuration is all about your APIs or your report server URLs or any database connection strings or the server names. Only these will change. These are nothing to do with your functionality, right? So so you always need to tell any team there is no one branch. I mean one branch per environment. Okay. So then how do you do it? So uh, I mean there are already best practices available, but you also need to know which best practice is applicable to you, right? Because you have everything online, so you should be able to choose which one is best, so that you don't need to again and know boggle your mind. Actually you know which best practice to be used. Go to the internet, you pick that one, you can use that. Okay, let's do the selection process. So you have branching strategies like feature branching strategy, and development isolation branching strategy, release isolation branch. So I mean there will be hundreds. There is no standard, but on the online there are some organizations, right, who create some best practices. uh, Most of the times our requirement will fall into one of their best practices because people create the best practices after talking to hundreds of teams or hundreds of companies, right? One of our problem will get into that category. But let's get into selection process. So your branching strategies, I mean how many branches we need to create, right? It depends on a number of factors. One is number of team members available. Let us say your team might contain 10 developers or 15 developers. or 20 developers or one developer. So it depends on your number of developers that who are working on this one. The other one, the velocity of your releases, means how frequently you are giving the releases. Okay, that means if you take a e-commerce portals, right, be it a Flipkart or Amazon, their changes are very frequent. Okay, they do it deployments even per minute as well. We don't know, because you have thousands of discounts available, and those discounts are available, I mean, made available based on the user profile, right? You might be having some premium subscriptions, or you might be a valued user because you've done so many purchases, and it depends on the merchants, etc. So they do have a lot many code changes. Okay, and you call them as a features, right? Features or user stories, whatever it is. Okay, so if these features are I'm just talking about some scenarios. If these features can be deployed independently, so you can call them as microservices in the latest terminology. If these features are like microservices or independently can be deployed, what these guys will do? Okay, there are 100 developers working on my e-commerce portal. Each developer can work alone. His changes will not tamper other person changes. That means whenever I am ready with my changes, it can go to the different environments. So that means I can create one pipeline for my branch, I mean for my code. So if you have to create a pipeline, you have to have a branch, right? So in these scenarios, you can have a feature branches. That means for each feature, you can create one branch. So this is a one type of requirement. And there will be some projects, they are not e-commerce portal. There will be scheduled changes, maybe once in a month, twice in a month, or once in 3 months, etc. And probably a couple of developers are working on that one. For that, you don't need to have a one branch for developer. Of course, no one can stop you from creating a branch, right? Yes, I mean, as long as you are having a permission, you can go and create a branch. But the problem here, you create n number of branches, your maintenance is increasing. Of course, it's not expensive. I mean, this is just a content, right? It is a storage. It costs you hardly pennies actually. Nobody worries about. But your maintenance cost increases. So we will talk about these trade-offs. I'm just talking about some scenarios. Okay. So if I have a less number of developers and less number of changes, I don't need to go for one branch for a developer. I can create only one dev branch, and I'll ask them to work on the same dev branch. 2 3 people they can connect, because it's the frequency of releases are less, and frequency, I mean, number of developers are less. This is one kind of stuff. The other scenarios can be, let us say, if you are working on some product development. Okay, so products are like this, right? They will have one baseline code, and when they sell it to different vendors, okay, let us say I'm a client, that product will have some customized code for me as well. Some features are available to me, and they sell the same product to some other vendor, and the features related to him will be different. And there will be another client who is using both of the features from the both of the people. Okay, and there might be some clients who is using the entire product as it is. So here what happens, if it is a product development, there will be scenarios like they manage branches per client as well. They manage, if they have thousands of clients, obviously they cannot manage thousands of branches. Probably they segregate the clients into different categories. Okay, this set of clients will be having these features, this set of clients, because these are all the development best practices. The product owner and the architect, all these guys will discuss, and they talk about all these strategies. And so then probably for a group of clients, I might have one branch. So your branching strategies, right, depends on all these factors. Okay, so now why I'm telling all these things. So people are very passionate about branching strategies, right? When you start a DevOps project, right? Uh, your architect or your mostly project manager, he will come and hey, implement feature branching strategy. That's it, he will tell you, because he's seen it online, and most of the people are using feature branching strategy, and he also wants to have that feature branching strategy uh, in his repos. So this is where you should question. Of course, rather than question, you need to convince him. I mean, why you should not or why you should. So I told you a couple of factors now, right? Let us say, okay, in your team you hardly have three developers, okay, and you are giving releases to the production once in 3 months. Okay, why do you want to maintain three different branches for three people? Means feature branch 1, feature branch 2, feature branch 3, and of course when you have these child branches, I cannot push it to the master. So master is very important. Master means the top level. It always contains fully working code. Okay, we never allow any developers to connect to the master. Okay, in any company, because that is fully working code all the time. Okay, so these feature branches always should be connected to some child of your master. Generally, I create one dev branch, and from the dev branch, I created all these feature branches. Okay, so now you say you have three developers uh, and who give a release once in 3 months. So you have to say this is a overhead. Okay, you create multiple branches, but there is of no use, because you don't these features don't even go independently. All these we have to combine and go to the production or the UAT after 3 months. So let's not create a multiple copies of your code. I mean, in terms of branches, let's simply create one development branching strategy. So you have one master, and from the master you create a dev, and to the dev all your three developers will connect to. So that's how it goes actually. So you need to put your thought process and explain them. So now I avoided creating that feature branching strategy by convincing like this. So you are working on a microservices project. Obviously microservices can be deployed independently, and one developer will be working on only one microservice, and he will have his own project, own solution. That's how the architecture goes actually. So your DevOps always depends on the architecture, mostly, not mostly, 100% of the times. Okay, so for each microservice is nothing but for each project you will have one pipeline, because they can go independently. Okay, in those cases, if somebody asks you feature branching strategy, you straight away go ahead and put it actually. Okay, and if somebody is asking some project manager or some other person, architect or lead comes in, yeah, I don't want these many branches, let's go with some release branching strategy or dev branch, I mean development isolation branching strategy. You tell them clearly, boss, we have these features independently, can be deployed to the different environments. And if you are using only dev branch, all the developers code is in dev environment, dev branch, and my code is complete, and other people code is not complete and not tested. So this guy have to wait till all these people are completed, and the testing is been completed, waste of time. So you go ahead with the feature branching. So this is how you need to put your thought process and explain branching strategies. Once you know all these fundas, right? It doesn't. Sometimes you may create your own branching strategy as well, which is not even available online, because it depends on the team scenarios. So there is no branching strategy bad actually. So everything is for a scenario. So you should not say, okay, this branching strategy is bad or this branching strategy is good. Everything is context based and scenario based. So everything is good only. Okay. Now let's go. So we already seen, right, how to create the branches. So always when you create a branch, you will create that new branch from some I mean existing one, right? We call it as a existing one or parent. So that's how we create branches. Now I go and name it anything. So when you're creating the branches, right? You as an administrator or DevOps engineer, you also need to follow some naming conventions. Of course, these may not help you when you are having one or two branches or three branches. But imagine that you are working for multiple teams or multiple branches are available in your, let us say 50 developers are working and 50 branches are available. And these developers might belong to the different teams, right? One set of people can be doing the Angular work, which is a front end work. The other set of people might be working on API development, and they belong to the backend team. And other set of people might be doing some other integration work. They might belong. So you create the teams, right? So you need to have the naming convention. Again, this is all about better maintenance. So you also decide on naming convention before you start your creation of branching strategies. You keep it very clear. So my naming convention is, let us say, username slash feature. This is my naming convention. Or user, I mean, whatever is, again, the names are as per the special characters not available. That's why I'm not talking about that one. Anyways, it will go on. Okay. So you decide a branching, naming convention for your branches as well. Users hyphen team name, or users hyphen team name hyphen the person name. I mean, basically your user ID, whatever it is. So like this, you need to decide on the naming conventions as well. This will help you when you have the complex engagements with hundreds of developers or tens of teams. Okay, easy identification. So you need to know the factors. On what factors you create the branches and the naming conventions. Now let's go and create branches. And so this is a fundamental. Let's go and see some available branching strategies that you see frequently on internet, right?
So do we have any administrative support where we restrict the users not to use the practice immediately? So
So
say you have a master whatever the feature plan. I want to restrict users only, set up users only for a particular
yes, yes, we talked about it. We just talked about it, right? I should not allow any person to
Right.
connect to the master branch. So it doesn't, it's just a name, right? It doesn't matter whether it is a master or feature or something. I should be able to restrict. So those permissions are there in your repos actually. We can go and restrict. Okay. So let's go. Okay. So we talked about branches. Okay, and we seen the merging as well, right? Okay, and when you are giving the releases, you basically create a build pipeline and release pipeline, and based on the branch in the repository. Okay, of course we haven't gone to that area, but this is how it works. Okay, so my code is in the development environment, development branch, and it has to be in the master branch. From the master branch, basically, as a best practice, I never use master branch as part of your pipeline. I create some release branch. I call it as in a release 1, 2, 3, etc. Because everyone wants to identify the changes based on the releases. Okay, what went in this release, what went in this release. And if I want to roll back to some version, I have this segregation available. So I create a release branch from the master and I go ahead and do it. We'll talk about it. Okay. So for that, what we need to do, you need to merge the code with the master, right? Okay. So that's where your pull request will come into picture. Pull request is nothing but your code review basically. So we have to put some branching policy on your branches saying that, let us say I'm also administrator, still I should not be able to merge the code from the dev branch to the master branch, or code from the dev branch to the QA, I mean, not QA, some other feature branch to the dev branch like this. There should be a code review mechanism enforced. So in Git terminology, this is a pull request. Okay, what I do, I'll go and put one branching policy on my parent. Let us say if I'm putting merging my feature to the dev, right? Dev is my parent. Now I put a policy on the dev branch saying that uh, pull request is mandatory to merge the feature branch into the dev branch master, which is not, I would say parent, because master is a standard terminology, which is the root. I would say parent actually, to the parent. Here my parent is the dev branch. So as soon as somebody tries to merge your feature branch with your parent, which is a dev branch, right? It will alert you. We cannot merge until unless this pull request is fulfilled. Pull request is nothing but your code review. So how do we create a code review? So we will see it actually now. Okay. So So everything comes from some product vendor, right? So if you are using some utility or some product, all the best practices will be defined by the product vendor, and we basically follow some of them or follow all of those best practices. In the same way, GitHub is the actual owner of the Git, but it is acquired by Microsoft now. They also defined the best practices, how well you can, how to manage your branches, how to implement governance, like who can do what, how to do the merges between branches. So all those things being defined, and this complex diagram is like that. Okay, this is the standard Git flow diagram that is defined by the Git actually. But we use a subset of these things. Okay, but whatever is the diagram you see, whatever is the strategy you see, it's all about merging the changes, creating the branches. So everything will be like that. So you are merging changes from child to parent, and sometimes you merge changes from parent to child, because let us say you do some bug fixes, you may do it in a parent, and you are working on some feature, you have to have that bug fix also in your current code. Otherwise, when you deploy your code, that bug fix will be gone, so you will get a regression issues. So you will always push pull code or merge code between different branches, parent, child, and this that is all about these things. I mean, you see all these arrows, right? This is not that clear. You see that on the top right, feature branches. The first one is feature branches. The next one is a development branch, and then you have some other release branches, hot fixes, and this is a master. You see, with the master, there is always a less number of interactions, because we do most of the work in our child branches like our dev branch or release branch or feature branches. So let's not get into, all those arrows. It's all about, as I told you, merging, pushing, pulling actually. And everyone gives a guideline. This is a guideline they give, this is how we do it. Now everyone came up with their own strategies. Okay, because I am working on some problem, I have my own solution, I publish that solution as a strategy, like that. And what are the various branching strategies that you come across basically? As we told, there is no good or bad, everything is context based. Every strategy will be applicable to some context. Okay, so the most preferred one or people use is a feature branching strategy, and there is a branching strategy called team branching strategy. As I told, right, you can create branches per team, or you can create branch for, if you have small team, one branch only. If you have multiple teams, you can create one branch per team. So that's called a team branching strategy. And then release branching strategy, we talked about how to create branches for the various releases. Okay, and then hotfix branching strategy. This you will be using it mostly, irrespective of feature branching or team branching or release branch. You use the hotfix, because obviously, other than your Microsoft or Google or something, Amazon, when you deploy your code, obviously people find bugs. Okay, so you have to go and fix the bug and then deploy it, and that should not be happening from your dev branch code. It should be happening from the release branch, because from the release branch only I deployed my code. So I done that. So but how I do it, I create a branch from the release branch that I call it as a hotfix branch, and I make changes and deploy it. Once it is that is successful, I get that hotfix branch code to my current master branch. It will be there, and your feature branches as well, to avoid future regression issues, because you need to have the latest code. And there are some techniques that we use to merge this kind of commit. You call it as a commit, right? Each check-in is a commit. So we will show you how easily we can take the code from one branch to other branch. Till now we're doing the merging, right? We will do the same merging in the upcoming classes. And also there are some other techniques. Instead of merging, we use some other techniques to copy the code actually. We will see them as well. So that you will know all the different ways to combine your code or merge your code. So this is how it looks like. Again, that's in a vertical manner. This is a horizontal manner because I'm comfortable with this one. So again, this is all about, uh, you have a trunk. Trunk is, very oldest terminology. I did not make the change to the test actually. Trunk is nothing but your master. Okay. And from here you create a feature branch one, feature one, feature two, and feature three. And again, you see some arrows to the top side or to the bottom side. This is nothing but you are pushing code to your child or pushing code to your parent, and you might be merging the code. So all these legends indicate that one. We will talk about it. So rather than I explain this diagram while we are doing in action, right? I will relate that to this branching strategy. The reason you might be required to create this kind of diagram as well when you work for any project implementation. So instead of taking something available on internet, if you know it by action, you can easily go and create it. This styling is all about business people will take care of it. You need to have the content. So we talk about these things in the next, it takes another 2 classes to completely talk about branching strategies and then the permissions and then pull requests. So the same way what we done today, right, for the merging, in the same way we do the pull request as well, so that it is seamless. So that's it for today, guys. Any questions?
Can I have class tomorrow?
Oh no, Saturday, Sundays are no Saturday, Sunday. Only on weekdays. So basically, what I do if I miss any class, right, I compensate it actually because the fix is now 40 hours, which is 40 days. If I take any leave or something, I basically compensate it on another day instead of extending the timeline. Of course, when I say 40 days or 40 hours, we may take another class extra because it depends on the questions that I get from the students. Sometimes we may not continue with what I'm continuing. I have to answer the questions and it may take some time, right? It may be 1 or 2 classes there and here. Sometimes I may go even faster if I don't have any questions, right? Then I can quickly close it. So, but Saturday, Sunday, and holidays, no classes. Guys on phone, if you don't have any questions, I'll stop the presentation and we'll meet on again Monday.
Hi, Purna Nasir here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, as we are means we are linking this Visual Studio and Azure. Like, can we link up like this IntelliJ or Eclipse? Those things, PyCharm, those things also we can integrate with Azure
Yes,
DevOps portal.
yes. So Azure DevOps supports most of the IDEs that are available in the market. Okay. So the most famous IDEs are your Visual Studio and Eclipse. Okay. So install Eclipse and you will have a extension in your Eclipse configuration to connect to the Azure repos, which is nothing but Git actually. Okay. Azure repos is a terminology for Azure, but inside it is using the Git. So you can install the Git extension for Azure repos in Eclipse and use the same user ID password, and the connection is same, connectivity is same, and the way you do the push pull, everything will be same. The only difference will be in the colors actually and the place. We might be doing it from the solution explorer here, and in the Eclipse you will be using perspectives, whatever you call it. So the menus will change, but the terminology will be same and the process will be same. So you can install Eclipse and you can install extension to connect to the Azure DevOps repos. You can say Azure repos. Any other questions? So if you want, I can show it to you. Right now, I'm having a number of softwares running on my PC. Once we done with this, what do you say, uh, this branches using Visual Studio, right? If you are a Java guys, basically I can install Eclipse on my laptop, okay, and I can show you. I mean, or you can see on online as well. I mean, YouTube as well. But it hardly takes. First, I will install the Eclipse because it takes some time actually. Once I install the Eclipse, then I will show you extension, how to configure that extension in the lab. Because that takes hardly 3-4 minutes, not more than that.
I think latest Eclipse.
It comes with
inbuilt.
inbuilt. The way Visual Studio.
No
Yeah.
need to install.
Exactly. You just need to connect actually. So, exactly. Even your Visual Studio Code also, but Visual Studio Code, right? It's not like Visual Studio. You need to know what you want to do actually. Everything is a plugin based. It is similar to your Jenkins. It doesn't come with fully working mode. You need to know what you need to have, then install the plugin and use it. Okay, basically that is Visual Studio Code is targeted for all the scripting developers, because they've been using different IDs. Python developers use one thing, Perl developers use one thing, and they want to grab all these guys, I mean, towards Microsoft. So that's why they created a Visual Studio Code, and they started uh, supporting all different languages. But it is a plugin based. If I want to use .NET, I have to use .NET related extensions like that. So for new people, it is little difficult. Even for experienced people, it is little difficult because they need to switch from the easiest way of Visual Studio to Jenkins type stuff Visual Studio. Thank you guys. We'll meet on Monday again. Have a good weekend.